impression it's too complicated for people to understand. It is complicated, and those are the things that all have to kind of come into play, that you can tier, but you got to make sure you still stay in Title IX compliance with that tiering. And then also you have to agree that if you tier football as well, because if you drop down to low particular levels with football, you don't get to play the cool games like playing Berkeley. Who doesn't want to play Berkeley? I want to play Berkeley. But you'd have to be at a certain level to be able to do that. So where do you balance that? And then there's other protected sports in the Big West. How do you make sure you still protect those? And so it's a complicated factor, but we'd be willing to tier, but you have to have the honest answer from the students as well, as far as how much hardship that puts on a student. If you only now suddenly get 60% grade A, where are you getting your other 40% from? Can you get that from home, or do you have to go work another job? So these are things you kind of have to worry about. I do have one question for you, and that is, of the student athletes that are not on one of the 4 sports that have strong potential of being cut, would you be willing to stand up? How many are from other sports? So the point is, as the chair back, I have never heard from a lot of the other sports. And so from the student athletes or from the coaches. So there needs to be a very unified front from the coaches and from the student athletes. Where's all the basketball players? Where's all the football players? Where's all the athletes from sports that are somewhat protected? They're still part of this. They should be willing to maybe chip in and take a bit of a hit. We don't know whether that would all add up to enough money. In the end, it still might end up we have to cut some sports. But everybody has to be part of this. And right now I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing all the coaches working together, and I'm not seeing all the students working together. And that's what has to happen. So I think we've had those discussions before, and I would certainly encourage it to happen. I know that's difficult. We don't all get along in the vet school. Why would anybody else? So, you know.
You spoke about wanting to have access to all of the data, and I feel that everyone in this room can agree that they would like access to all the data as well. I was wondering, would you want more time? Would you want more time for your work group to be able to analyze those that data, and would you support our desire for a 1-year stay of execution?
Well, I absolutely think more time needs to be, but it's such a hard decision. How do you recruit anyone to come play a sport when they might not know the sport's here 2 years from now? So that's very tricky. So, you know, to have a stay of execution, that's just a very tricky question. So yes, I agree. I think there should be more time. I think there should be a more thorough review. But at some point, when do you cut bait and say, hey, we got to make a decision here? And, you know, I'm under the impression Berkeley's taking more time, but I'm also under the impression, I could be wrong, this is what I've heard, is that the administration at Berkeley puts in billions of dollars into their sports program, so they have the time to take. Where that's a little more critical for us, because we don't do that. That's why we're unique, and that's why we're special. So I would like to see more of the data, absolutely, and to take that time to look at it, but it's a very hard decision to make. At some point, you have to make the decision.
Thank you.
If everyone in the audience could start thinking right now about questions, comments, or testimonials that you'd like to share, we will be having a period of time after all of the presentations for anyone in the audience to come up and share their story. So if you feel like you might have a story, please start preparing that now. Thank you.
We won't worry about the laptop anymore. All right, our next two speakers are going to come up together, and it's Heidi Kucera and Joey Chen. But before they come up, I'd like to introduce to you a study that the NC2A Knight Commission released. They titled it Sports 101, and in it, they dispelled several common sports myths. Here's the first one. The first one is that if you have a good football team, you'll make money. Football and basketball. Unfortunately, no matter how good you are, only 20 to 30 of the institutions in the entire country make enough money on their football and basketball teams to cover their own operating expenses and put it into the rest of the ICA funds. That's out of over 1,000 universities that they polled and over 300 Division I universities. Also, there's absolutely zero correlation between winning and ticket revenue. So, to go back to many people's issue of what will happen to recruiting if we can't fund it, since excellence has no correlation to winning, and winning has no correlation to sales, there's no reason to worry about how funded we are, and as a worry as to how excellent we will be. All right. Now, Heidi and Joey, you guys ready? All right, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Heidi Kucera. I'm on the women's swim team and water polo team.
Hi everyone, my name is Joey Chen. I'm the financial controller of UCD's student government.
Originally today, we were going to focus on the flaws that were published in the cutting criteria. But we found, as we went through, the real criteria, as Nona said, was because of budget and Title IX. When we asked them for the exact numbers of why these teams were cut, we were told it's too complicated for us student athletes to understand.
I come to you today not as someone who knows the ins and outs of Title IX or prongs. I come to you today as someone who knows budgets. As controller of UCD, I have written a $10.5 million budget. ICA's budget is $18 million. I'm pretty sure that if I can write a $10.5 million budget with support of my colleagues in the NCCD who are here in support of you, student athletes, and the student athletes themselves who are dedicated so much to their sport that they are willing to spend so many hours upon hours practicing for their sports, I'm pretty sure that together we can make sense of a budget that's $8 million more. You know, so often the administration announces cuts, and more cuts. And the students are so frustrated because they do not know why the cuts are being placed upon them. We are asking, and we are extending an invitation to Mr. Warzeka and the administration. We are asking for the numbers, these solid numbers, to allow ourselves to identify exactly why these teams are being cut. We're asking for 1 year. We're asking for the numbers. We're asking for the numbers for every year after we have moved to Division I. You give us those numbers, we will try to find a solution to the ICA budget. And if we cannot, we will at least come to terms with why these teams are being cut.
In the February 5th letter released by the Chancellor, it says that this $150 million cut to UCDs has to come in as a reasonable transition. We realize, like what Black was bringing up, that if you keep teams around for 1 more year, what will happen to them in the future? We realize it will be more painful later on, but if you give these teams an opportunity